friends, I'm Birkan. Today I'm gonna introduce crazy English approach and talk about it. First, I'm gonna define what the crazy English is, then talk about its history, give information about its etymology and methodology. Later, I'm gonna tell advantages and disadvantages of it, and finally, criticism toward the crazy English approach. So let's get started. Crazy English is a brand name related to a non-traditional method of learning English in mainland China conceived by Li Yang. Li believes that the traditional way of learning English in China is ineffective. Li Yang's method places heavy emphasis on criticizing English orally. His method can be described with the slogan, "By shooting out loud, you learn." In many ways, it remains similar to the traditional pedagogy practices of Chinese education in that it still relies on repetition and recitation. Members of the school administration in China often disapprove of the method because they believe it goes against the traditional Chinese values of modesty and restraint. History. For over a decade, China has been gripped by the English fever phenomenon as the country increasingly associates English language skills with success in the business world. Though China states that it has the largest number, 300 million, of English speakers in the world, the number of people who translate their reading and writing skills to spoken word decreased substantially. This issue with students not being comfortable or confident in speaking English opened the door for Li Yang's crazy English method of teaching. Yang, like many others, struggled with speaking in English. In preparation for his TEM4 English exam, Yang found that while practicing English, he would often time to find himself shooting English passages and class exercise aloud. This made him more confident. After only 4 months of using his new method of studying, Yang placed second in his class on the exam. One major contribution to Crazy English's rise to fame was director Zhang Yuan's 1999 documentary Feng Huang Yuanqiu, Crazy English, which gained Crazy English attention, especially in the Western world. Crazy English popularity continued to grow, causing more than 20 million people to sign up for a course. Eventually, the Chinese government recognized Crazy English as a legitimate teaching method by allowing Yang to teach in Beijing, to teach soldiers on top of the Great Wall of China, as well as conduct intensive training camps to prepare for the 2008 Olympics. Today, Li Yang English Promotion Studio is a multi-million-dollar business that employs over 115 people with Yang still at the helm as director and principal speaker. Etymology. The name Crazy English comes from the fact that Yang's methods are so different from traditional Chinese classroom norms of being restrained. Crazy English goes against this tradition as the method utilizes physical and mental engagement. The word crazy is not to be synonymous with the insanity, but instead stands for Yang's belief that everything in life should be done wholeheartedly with passion and abandon. Crazy stands for single-minded pursuit of dreams. Crazy stands for the total devotion to your work. Crazy stands for the passion of commitment to reach the goal, says the course book. Methodology. Li Yang's unconventional method of teaching English includes screaming popular and random English phrases at a rapid pace and occasionally involves hand movements in patterns that reflect the word's pronunciation. In a survey on Crazy English, students identified Li Yang's technique as one which does not include grammar, vocabulary, reading, comprehension, writing, or listening comprehension. In 2003, Li in an interview with Cripple Site said, "Chinese students have no problem writing, they have no problem reading. That's why I trigger their power of speaking." Since Crazy English highlights various aspects of learning a language without using any traditional ways like learning grammar or reading textbooks, pronunciation is the backbone of this methodology. Crazy English follows the International Phonetic Alphabet as its standards for given pronunciation notation. Li Yang employed several native English speakers to incorporate exaggerated American pronunciation in his lecture to develop conversation practicality. Li Yang chooses not to provide vocabulary lists or grammar notes for the words and phrases he uses. In his lectures, Yang sometimes translates English words or phrases into Chinese to focus on the emotion behind the word by reminding the audience of the Chinese translation to make the learning of the word faster. Crazy English uses simple forms of vocabulary and grammar. This is why the translation in order to invoke feeling is not necessary every time. Crazy English lectures mostly contain English phrases and not full sentences. The psychological aspect of Crazy English method is related to its emphasis on improving speech. Students practice his technique by going behind buildings or on rooftops and shooting English. They also go to his rallies and shoot together. This helps them overcome their shyness. Everybody is doing it, so nobody is embarrassed. Lees frequently use slogan Crazy English, Crazy Life, Crazy World. I love this crazy game, so let's go. Signifies the method Lee wants his students to adapt to this mindset in order to learn English in his way. The crazy in Crazy English signifies the Lee Young's want for students to have rage and passion in their studies and to fulfill their dreams by giving up their fear of failing. Advantages. Crazy English encourages students to shout out English words whether behind buildings, on rooftops, or at organized rallies. Shooting together with others helps people overcome their shyness because if everyone is doing it, nobody is embarrassed. In traditional Chinese hierarchies, youths are not encouraged to show a mastery of skill that surpasses the skill of their adult counterparts. Li Yang's proponents argue that his method of teaching may help Chinese students get over their inhibitions to learning and practicing English. Li believes that most Chinese are brought up with modesty and lack of confidence, that they are afraid of losing face in front of family, friends, educators, and even strangers. Common English teaching methods in China reflect this fear of failure and accommodate students by allowing them to learn English without practicing, speaking, preparing dialogues, or giving individual oral presentations. Disadvantages. However, an opposer of Crazy English notes that Li Yang only says English words without giving any further details about the context in how, when, where, and what condition does one word should and could be applied. Another opposer comments that Li does not spend effort on structuring any cohesion between vocabulary and sentences. He assumes that students get enough of that in the classroom. Instead, he uses crazy sentences shooted at high decibels and funny hand movements to engage his audience in participation. An additional challenger also notes that students rarely, if not never, are presented with situations in which they need just to parrot a native speaker. Another argues that because of Chinese English, many students have come to believe that English has no standards, which results in their English not sounding American or British. Controversies. Critics of Crazy English say that the promotion of Crazy English over the past 15 years has resulted in most students believing English has no standard, and that some even mistake American English for the standard one, which has made most students in China, after 16 years of studying English, sound neither British nor American. As a result, many are so confused with two different kinds of English accents that they choose to keep their mouths shut. Critics also describe crazy English as a technique only appropriate for certain situations. For example, a taxi driver who needs to only a few sentences to communicate with English-speaking customers, but not as the main method to teaching students in the classroom setting. Critics note that although Lee advocates fluency in pronunciation, his dismissal of fluency in context is slightly problematic. Thank you for listening. Now I give the floor to the Uğur.
Hello friends, it's Uğur. Now I want to speak to you about the techniques which can be used and adopted crazy English method. Let's begin with songs. It is a great way for applying crazy English as it provides repetition and speak out. Especially sing song in chorus accompanied by tune or melody will help students to less stress during learning as crazy English method suggests. Songs are help student to memorize sentence structure and sentence pattern. Here teacher should provide to student to pronounce the words and sentence loudly and clearly multiple times. And our next technique is drilling. As an audiolingual technique, drilling contains repetition and habit formations. It can be adapted to crazy English very easily. There are a lot of types of drilling, and I have chosen some of them for you, which can be appropriate to use in the method. The first one is chorus drill. Here students repeat the words and phrases and sentences all together. As they perform it together, they will feel more comfortable. Students also have opportunity to pronounce loudly as crazy English method suggests. And the next drill is question and answer drill. Question and answer drill is another technique which can be adapted to the method. In the activity, students actively use questions as prompt, so they can repeat words and phrases clearly many times. It would be also good for students to learning grammar. And the third technique is substitution drill. Here students practice structure and vocabulary items. Again, teacher can use it as making students repeat words and phrases many times in a clear manner. And the fourth one is repetition imitation drill. Basically, teacher says a model and students repeat it in the activity. In this technique, teacher can make students shout the words or phrases. Another way in this technique is repeating a sentence very slowly at first and then faster and faster. And the final drill is transformation drill. Students are given a structure to be transformed. To adopting it in crazy English, teacher should pronounce the sentence clearly and make students say it again and again. And our next technique is role play. Teacher can adopt role play in the method very easily. For example, students can pronounce their words very clearly and slowly. Moreover, they can perform it by shouting if the place is convenient for this. The next one is tongue twisters. Tongue twisters are a great way to practice and improve pronunciation and fluency. They can also help to improve accents by using alliteration, which is the repetition of the sound. As crazy English method suggests improving pronunciation and fluency, tongue twister can be a good idea to use. Teacher should pronounce every single word clearly and with an understandable manner to apply it, and then make students say the sentence word by word to whole sentence. The next activity is Chinese whisper. I guess everybody knows the Chinese whisper. Here, students transmit a word or phrase from ear to ear. Clarity is one of 3 criteria for the crazy English. For this, teacher can use this technique to make students speak more clearly. The next technique is card games. Card games can be used for teaching vocabulary. There is too much way of using cards in language teaching. This can be adapted in the method easily also. For example, a student can shout the words on the card that he have chosen. And finally, I want to speak to you about individual working and memorizing. Individual working is the one of the best way in learning English by Crazy English. Because the method requires shouting and repeating words and phrases slowly to faster and doing this loudly. If students have an isolated room, they can perform it better. Memorization is also occurs better in a quiet place. For this, if students work at home or an isolated place, they can perform better the Crazy English method. I thank you for listening to my presentation.